I can't remember the moment at which I decided to become an academic historian. That was probably when I did well enough as an undergrad. But there's one incident I remember when I must have been 12, and I was listening to the radio. We hadn't got television in those days. And there was a program every Sunday called The Brains Trust, which were 4 men, always men, who were very, very smart, and they were asked questions often sent in by listeners. And the exchange I remember was this. The questioner said, "What is the similarity between the Battle of Stalingrad and the Battle of Cannae?" I remember the answer came from someone called Dennis Brogan, who is a historian and a Scot. And he paused and he said, "Well, they're both battles, and one of them involves Rome and Carthagena, and the other, or even Russia and Germany, so that can't be it. And 216 BC, 1942, so it's not the date." And you went through 4 or 5 alternatives, and in the end said, yes. And the general defeated was Emilius Paulus at Cannae and Friedrich von Paulus at Stalingrad. I think that may be the connection you want. And I'm thinking, whatever 12-year-olds say for wow, I'd like to do that when I grow up. When Eliot turns, Sir John is giving a course of lectures on European history, and at this particular one he's talking about the Netherlands, and in particular the Dutch Revolt. This is clearly a subject that interests him. He becomes animated. He has a map, cutting-edge technology in the universities of the 1960s. He has a map on the wall behind him, and he points to it, and he says, what no one has explained is how Spain, for 80 years, managed to send troops and treasure all the way from Spain to Italy, Italy to Franche-Comté, and all the way to the Netherlands. How was it done? And so when John Eliot mentioned this logistical problem of how do you get 7,000, 10,000 Spaniards to the Netherlands to fight the Dutch, how was it done? That interested me a lot. I have always liked to go and meet historians. The historians whose books I've read, I like to meet them. And one day I was doing research near Grenoble, where the noted Hispanist Henri Lapeyre lived. And I went to see him, I got an audience. And at the end of getting advice, I said, "So if you were me, Professor, what would you do?" And he said, "Well, I remember there's a series in Simancas that no one has ever made any sense of. And you're young, you can afford it. Spend 3 days looking at those documents. And if you find the answer, you're made. And if you've wasted 3 days, what does that matter to you? You're young." The pile of documents was about this big. There'd been no one had looked at them. How do I know that? Because they were covered in dust. Every time I turn it over, a pile of ink comes down on me. But I recognize the names. I realize why nobody has identified them before. These are the names of each of the regiments of the Spanish army in the Netherlands, and these were their pay sheets. And it lasted for 40 years. So 40 years of documents, just fantastic. Every historian has felt at some time in their life that feeling at the back, the hairs in the back of their neck go up and down because they've seen something that no one's seen before, or they've seen the significance of something that no one has seen before. That's what I felt that day. But you might have asked me, what was the best day in my life? And that would have been the day my first child, my daughter, was born. I remember I was 22 and I felt better than I think I've ever done before or since as I walked down the road as a father for the first time.